Hi everyone, it is hot out here, but I'd rather have this than our minus 25 in mid-February. And I want to give an extra warm welcome to our youth and children tuning into us today. And this coming Sunday is Youth Sunday and our communion. So I really appreciate that you guys have taken your time to tune in and to connect. We're always glad that you join us every Sunday with the rest of our community. So today my focus will be on you guys, you young people. I'm tailoring my teaching just for you. And the topic for today is fake news and conspiracies. Doesn't that sound like fun? I'm going to try to make this as practical as I can, as interactive as I can, so you will learn something. So these days there is a lot of news and a lot of fake news and conspiracies going around. And you've seen it, you've heard it, the weird pictures, the crazy videos, and the unbelievable news stories. With so much information out there, how can you know what's true and what's false? Do you believe everything? Of course not. So how do you know what is real and fake? How can you tell? So what I'm going to do is a little experiment. A little test with you guys to test your brains to see if you can detect real from fake. So what I'm going to do is tell a short story and you decide whether it's real or fake. Okay, let's start. In 1934, Dr. Robert Wilson, he was walking along the beach in Scotland and he noticed something very strange out on the lake. When he looked, he saw a strange creature swimming on the lake with a long neck. And this must be the legendary dinosaur. So he quickly took out his camera, took a few pictures, and then he produced a photo and he took it to the newspapers to publish his story. And when the newspaper came out, the story went viral. The picture was named Nessie, short for the Loch Ness Monster. Okay, question, real or fake? What do you think? Okay, well, for over 60 years, people believed it was real because back then, a photograph meant it was proof. And for a long, long time, this picture of the sea creature was considered evidence. But then, in 1994, an old man, Christopher Splurring, he came forward and he confessed. He confessed that the story and the picture was all made up. It was a conspiracy. He explained that they used a toy submarine. Yep. They glued on top of it a dinosaur's head, a toy dinosaur, to make it look like the neck of the monster. Then they sailed it into the water and took shots of it. So, it was faked for over 60 years. Okay, how about the second story? On September 11th, 2001, a Hungarian tourist, he went to visit the World Trade Center in New York City. And he took the elevator all the way up to the observation deck to pose for a picture. And seconds before the first airplane crashed into that tower, the camera captures the final shot of him. And this photo was shared by the survivor after he died. Okay, looks pretty real, right? So, real or fake? What do you think? Well, the answer, photoshopped. Fake, not real. It was a real person, however. This Hungarian man, Peter Guzli, he actually visited the World Trade Center 4 years before 9/11. He edited the photo of himself as a joke for his friends, and he never expected it to go viral onto the internet, which it did. Okay, how about this story? Deforestation across the globe is a major concern, and if we don't slow down, it will completely destroy our global ecosystem. So last year, the World Wildlife Fund, an environmental organization, they posted this picture. They named it the 10-year challenge, and it shows what can happen in just 10 short years if we don't protect the environment. Okay, so this sounds pretty legitimate, a legitimate organization. So what do you think? Fake or real? Answer again, fake. The photographer who took this picture, he took it in May 2018 near Malaysia, but it was not a before and after picture. Let me show you the real picture. Here's the real picture. So you can see in this picture, it shows the same area and the same forest beside it. It was not deforestation, but it was just a deforestation of one small area to make room for a new oil factory that was being built. So it was not a before and after. Okay, how about this one? So the famous Hollywood company MGM, they created the lion logo by strapping Leo to this table in order to keep people safe while they made him roar while filming him. Well, sounds like a necessary precaution to take to keep people safe. So what do you think? Is this real or fake? Answer again, fake. Yep, it was photoshopped. Leo was not forced, he was not harmed, he was not strapped down. Let me show you the real photo. Here it is. This is a 2-year-old Burberry lion named Samson. He was a zoo lion that was sick with a brain condition, so they took him to the hospital, strapped him in this rig so that he could get a CAT scan so they could know how to treat him. Okay, final story, last story. How about this one? COVID dare party. So young people in Alabama are throwing COVID competition parties. Yep. It's a competition where you buy a ticket to go to this party, but people who have coronavirus are invited to come free. So the first person in the party to get infected and prove it will receive the jackpot. Crazy, eh? So what do you think? Real or fake? Answer, real. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a real story and a real challenge. I checked the local sources and CNN confirmed it. The fire chief of that town confirmed that young people are indeed having parties and they have a payout. All right, so how did you do on the test overall? Did you get most of the stories right? Good job if you did. So all of these news articles and pictures are unusual. They're very interesting. And this is one of the reasons why conspiracies and fake stories spread so easy and quickly. Humans, we are curious creatures. We're naturally drawn to these unusual and novel stories. And when we see these things, it creates strong emotion in us. It makes us surprised, angry, and even upset. And when we're emotional, we have to tell others. We want to expose the truth, and we start sharing without even checking the facts. Robinson Meyer, a writer in The Atlantic, he says this: fake news and fake rumors and conspiracies reach more people, penetrate deeper into the social network, and spread much faster than accurate stories. That's interesting, but it's true. So this means that as Christ followers, we have to be wise. We have to be very careful about what we believe to be true. We don't just believe everything that comes our way. So this means we have to focus on Christ. He's the truth and always will be the truth. And this is the first thing to remember for today. Jesus told us to be as shrewd as serpents and to be innocent as doves. And Jesus taught his disciples this in Matthew 10:16. Behold, I'm sending you out like sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and as harmless as doves. So why is Jesus talking about wolves and doves and snakes? Well, in this passage, he's using these animals to help us understand how we should live and be a witness in this world. So this world that we live in, it is like a wolf. Like the wolf, our world can be hostile. It can be unfriendly and dishonest towards us. So how do we live in this hostility? We should be like two animals. First, we should be like the snake or the serpent. Not evil or deceptive, but in a positive way. We are to be sharp. We are to be clever and observant. And this is how Jesus lived. He was clever and observant. And when we are shrewd, focusing on Christ, we're much less likely to fall into trickery. There's also a second animal we should be like. We should be innocent as doves, or harmless like doves, which means we live in peace. We are peaceable people. We don't bring harm, not even to the enemies of God. Jesus was harmless as a dove in every circumstance when he was on the earth. He lived a pure and compassionate life serving. So let us remember, shrewd like the serpent and innocent like the dove. So there's another question that I'm quite curious about. It's the question of why. Why do people make up conspiracies? It's dishonest, it's misleading, it makes people worried and angry. So why do people do this? Well, I think there are many reasons for this, and there are experts who have looked into this and they know much more and much better than I do. So let me show you what they think. Mariana Spring, she's a specialist who looks at fake news, and she tells us about the 7 types of people who start to spread false information. So let's look at how she describes these 7.
One, the joker. Lots of people have been sharing funny posts and memes online, and some of them are pretty good, but others go too far and people actually believe that they're true. 2, the scammer. This lot are looking to make money from the pandemic. Some create fake texts trying to get hold of your bank account details, or others plug dodgy advice looking to sell their remedies and cures. 3, the politician. The people in charge can also spread fake news. That includes officials and state-sponsored media from around the world. Officials in China and the US have been trading misinformation since the start of the virus, each accusing the other of deliberately creating it. Of course, neither of those claims are true. And there are concerns about foreign interference. That's when states spread misleading information abroad in order to further their own aims. But it can be very difficult to trace interference back to the people in charge, or to figure out who are behind networks of fake accounts that are pushing misleading information. 4, the conspiracy theorist. These people think that nothing is as it seems. They've falsely linked 5G to coronavirus, speculated about who created it, or even suggested that coronavirus doesn't exist at all. None of these are true. These ideas have been bouncing around on the internet for a while, but they've started getting more attention as worried people look for quick answers to their questions. 5, the insider. There's information that apparently comes from someone you trust, an unnamed doctor, professor, or hospital worker. But it turns out they don't exist, or if they do, it seems to be a game of Chinese whispers gone wrong. And this misinformation goes viral because it's shared, often by a relative in your WhatsApp group who passes it on just in case, or by a celebrity who amplifies it to their thousands of followers. Tech companies, media regulators, and governments decide what happens when people start and spread misinformation. But ultimately, we're all responsible for stopping its spread.
Very interesting, eh? So we have the scammer, the joker, the politician, the conspiracy theorist, the insider, the relative, and the celebrity. That's 7, should be 7. So many kinds of people who tell false information for different reasons. Remember, even back in Jesus' time, there were the conspirators. They plotted against Jesus. These religious, political leaders made fake news so they could arrest Jesus. Matthew 12:14. But the Pharisees, they went out and conspired against him, how to destroy him. So how could people have believed these lies against Jesus? He was innocent. Well, it's actually pretty easy to be tricked and misled. And I fully admit I have been misled. I confess I have fallen to many of these stories because some of them sound so believable because they give you only half the truth and they tell you half the story. Back in March when the first COVID cases were found in Toronto, I was told there was a quick and easy way to self-diagnose to see if you have the virus. Some of you remember this. Simple virus self-check. Take a deep breath and hold for 10 seconds. And if you can do this, you're likely to be virus-free. Stanford University of Medicine. And I remember I was doing this over and over to check myself, but it's actually not medical advice. We know that today people can have the virus and show no signs of sickness or symptoms. And this actually didn't even come from the Stanford School of Medicine. It originated from Facebook to get maybe likes. So false news, conspiracies, and deception, it's been around forever, a long, long time. There's actually nothing new. You want me to tell you the very first conspiracy that ever was created? Yep. Amazingly, we still have a record of it. Let me show you the story. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? You will certainly not die," the serpent said to the woman. So in the very beginning, after God placed our perfect parents, Adam and Eve, in the garden, not long after, Satan appears. He was very crafty by his nature, and he took this chance to inject the very first conspiracy theory. Yep. He tried to manipulate them by twisting the truth. He wanted to mislead them and plant doubt into their minds about God. And Satan did what? He gave them new information. He suggested that God was withholding something good from them. Oh yeah, he wanted Adam and Eve to second guess God. He wanted them to question God's goodness and motive. And after this conversation, Eve may have been thinking to herself, maybe God isn't as generous and as loving as he appears to be. Why wouldn't he want us to know the difference between good and evil? And why didn't he tell us any of this? If he's holding this back from us, what else is he holding back from us? We should know. You see, that's how Satan works. That's how conspiracies work. They plant doubt. They want you to doubt the truth and be afraid. They want you to listen to them instead of truth. So let's look at the meaning of conspiracy theory. What is a conspiracy theory anyways? Well, a conspiracy theory is basically secret explanation. It's a secret explanation to inform you what the powerful people don't want you to know. Since people in power are being dishonest and lying to you, the conspiracy theory exposes these lies and tells you their truth. So let me give you a classic example of a conspiracy. Did you know that the US government has been lying to you? Yep, they've been lying since day one to everyone, to their citizens, to the world. And one of the biggest secrets and lies is the moon landing hoax. Back in 1969, we all believed that astronauts blasted off into the space and went to the moon and landed. Nope, didn't happen at all. Just a big hoax. The real truth that is Hollywood made it up. It's a trick. They didn't actually land on the moon at all. It was all made up to make the world believe that the US could do it, but they didn't. Look at all the evidence that we have. First, the moon has no atmosphere or air, right? So then why do we see the American flag fluttering and moving in the video? Weird, don't you think? And the second thing, look at the background. If they are really in space, why don't we see any stars? Number 3, how can Neil Armstrong say that he was the first man to make the first step on the moon if there's already a cameraman filming him? And finally, rocks. They look like any rocks from the earth. Crazy, eh? But conspirators actually believe that the government is lying and hiding, despite the overwhelming evidence against it. Conspiracy theories are very attractive and very interesting because it's a kind of deception. But they're not true. They don't actually tell you the truth at all. These theories rarely hold up to the test of truth and the evidence because there is no solid evidence. These theories are always based on half-truths, rumors, conjectures, and people will believe in them. And why do people believe in these things? Well, one reason is that they believe in a sense of control. They don't want people to tell them what to believe. They want their own explanation for things that don't seem to make sense. Let's go back to Adam and Eve. They listened to Satan and they were deceived. They believed the secret explanation which gave them control. So with this false sense of control, they start to question God and ask, why? Why indeed did God tell us not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? So no one wants to fall temptation to the evil one. So what do? How do we avoid being tricked? Well, the most basic thing is to focus on Christ. Focus on Christ. Always trust in the truth because He is truth. And for sure, deceivers, conspirators, and fake news will always be out there, but we must try our very best to not fall into those things. And almost all conspiracies have one thing in common. There's a common thread. You know what that is? Fear. Fear. It's all about creating some sort of fear and anxiety inside of you. Be afraid of China because they had designed this virus as a bioweapon. But you should be even more afraid of the Americans. Yeah. Because they are using 5G network to spread this virus. But most of all, be afraid of the Russians. They are the masterminds behind all of it. So when we hear stuff like this, it's way too easy to fall to simple conclusions, to suddenly judge and hate based on conjecture and rumors. It's too easy just to look at the other group, the other person, as the enemy, to dehumanize them, and to think that they are a threat based on what? Just a fake video. So we must not fall to this temptation. We can't be so gullible as to believe in everything that comes our way. When this kind of news makes you feel scared or anxious or worried, you can be sure it's not of Christ. Christ is never the author of fear. So we must always turn to Him first. In prayer and discernment. This means that we focus on Him, but it doesn't mean that we ignore the news and just pretend that nothing's happening around us. But we allow all of this stuff that we see in here to filter through the love of Christ. Don't take raw news at face value. You must always look at it through the lens of Christ. And how do we do this? I want to bring you back to the foundational truth in 1 John 4:18. There is no fear in love. There is no fear in love. But perfect love drives out fear because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. So love opposes fear. They can't be together at the same time. Real and perfect love is active. It does something. God's love will push out the fear and anxiety in us. It will drive fear away in the same way that the light, it pushes out the darkness. And when we walk with Christ, we are never overwhelmed with fear. So even in the face of the real enemy, we have the presence and peace of Christ with us. And when He's with us, we abstain from judgment. We don't incite violence and revenge. We don't share rumors that make people scared. These are not of Christ. And so walking in Christ means that you will get a better sense of detecting deception. But there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that you will detect all deception all the time. But you always still have Christ with you, and He will guide you towards the truth. So, thank you, young people. You made it up to here. I want to tell you, it will take time for you to mature and to gain experience in Christ. It takes time so that you can learn not to be deceived. It takes time to grow in spirituality and faith and to resist those temptations. But trust God with your heart. Trust God with your mind and your heart. And don't be gullible to accept all things without first seeking the truth. And in the purity of your heart, God will speak. He will lead you to seek Him. And secondly, and the last thing, trust your parents. Trust your grandparents. Trust more mature Christians. God put these people, these mature people in your life for a reason. They're very important to help you to grow in faith, so don't ignore them. Your parents, they're there to lead, to guide, and God put them there to protect you and to pray over you and for you so you will grow and mature. They have the experience of discernment because they have been through life. So trust them. I know sometimes when they, put limits on you, on your media or electronics or whatever, it feels like they're old-fashioned. It feels like they're out of touch and they're just taking your fun away. But they know what's good for you. They want to protect you until you are ready. I will end with a short video that will give you a little bit more practical things to help you learn and discern truth. So please remember, I pray that you always trust Christ and His Word. Seek first His kingdom, and the rest He will add on to you. So enjoy this last practical teaching from the CBC. Peace.
Did you know the Prime Minister of Canada has a pet alien? I read it online, and I even saw a photo. A photo! It must be true, right?
Wrong. Turns out, sometimes the news you find on the internet isn't real. It's what we call fake news. Sometimes the story starts as a joke, and then somebody takes it seriously, and it spreads.
But why would anybody waste their time inventing a fake news story?
It's clickbait. The more people click on an interesting sounding story, the more people will see the ads on that webpage, and that equals money. And sometimes people just want to spread their own ideas or beliefs without backing them up with any facts at all.
Vote for me and I'll turn all rivers into ice cream by 2020. That's a promise.
You mean that's not true? I read that one online like a week ago. Aw, I love ice cream.
So, how can you tell if a news story is fake?
I know this one. Watch out for no eyewitnesses or quotes and phony experts in a story. Pictures that might have been photoshopped. Headlines written in capital letters with lots of exclamation points.
Yup, that's right. Those things are all good indicators that the story you're reading is fake. Here's a few more. Lots of pop-ups and banner ads. Lots of broken links. No author's name and incomplete information in the About Us section of the website. Also, check the date the story was written. Is this just an old story that's been recycled? Are any other major websites reporting the same thing? If not, the story probably isn't real. And check the website address. Fake URLs usually try to copy real websites, often by adding unnecessary words and domains. A basic rule of thumb.
If you aren't sure that a story is real, don't share it. Hey, look! The banana company is giving away free bee phones. All I have to do is share this article with 500 of my friends, and I can get a free... Oh, right.
Fake news.